Lisa thought she was living in a fairy tale. After 28 years of dating disasters and almost giving up on love, she had finally found him. The man who would sweep her off her feet and give her the happily ever after she had always dreamed of. His name was Ryan, and he was everything she had ever wanted in a partner. Tall, handsome, with dark hair that he always styled perfectly and a smile that could light up any room. He worked as a senior manager at a big tech company downtown, driving a sleek black BM and wearing expensive suits that made him look like he stepped right out of a magazine. They met at a coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday morning. Lisa was running late for work, frantically trying to balance her laptop bag, umbrella, and a large coffee when she bumped straight into Ryan. Her coffee went flying, splashing all over his pristine white shirt. She was mortified, apologizing over and over while grabbing napkins to help clean up the mess, but Ryan just laughed. Not the annoyed, frustrated laugh she expected, but a genuine, warm laugh that made her heart skip a beat. He told her not to worry about it, that these things happen. Then he did something that surprised her even more. He asked if she wanted to grab another coffee with him right then and there. That first conversation lasted 3 hours. They talked about everything and nothing, sharing stories about their jobs, their families, their dreams for the future. Lisa found herself completely captivated by this man who seemed so confident and put together, yet was genuinely interested in what she had to say. Ryan was a perfect gentleman from the very beginning. He always opened doors for her, pulled out her chair at restaurants, and never forgot to bring her flowers on special occasions. He remembered little details about things she mentioned in passing, her favorite type of chocolate, how she liked her morning coffee, the way she always got nervous before big presentations at work. Their relationship moved at what felt like the perfect pace. Ryan never rushed her or made her feel pressured about anything. He introduced her to his friends after a few weeks of dating, and they all seemed to love her immediately. His best friend Jake even pulled Lisa aside one evening and told her that he had never seen Ryan so happy or relaxed with anyone before. The first time Ryan told Lisa he loved her was during a weekend trip to the mountains. They were sitting by a campfire, roasting marshmallows and looking up at the stars. The moment felt so natural and perfect that when he said those 3 little words, Lisa felt like her heart might burst with happiness. She said it back without hesitation, meaning every syllable. As months turned into a year, their relationship only got stronger. Ryan was supportive of Lisa's career ambitions, encouraging her to apply for a promotion she had been afraid to go after. When she got the job, he was the first person she called, and his excitement and pride in her accomplishment made her love him even more. Lisa's friends were envious of what she had found. At girls' nights out, they would gush about how lucky she was to have found such an amazing guy. Her best friend Rachel, who had been single for years, often joked that she was going to steal Ryan if Lisa ever messed things up. Even Lisa's mother, who had always been skeptical of the men Lisa dated, completely approved of Ryan. When Ryan suggested they move in together after dating for 18 months, Lisa didn't hesitate. They found a beautiful apartment with exposed brick walls and large windows that let in tons of natural light. Lisa loved creating a home with Ryan, picking out furniture together and arguing playfully about whether to get a cat or wait until they had more space. Living together was everything Lisa had hoped it would be. Ryan was neat and organized, always doing his share of household chores without being asked. He was an excellent cook and surprised Lisa with elaborate homemade dinners several times a week. Their morning routine became a comfortable dance. Ryan would make coffee while Lisa got ready for work, and they would sit together for a few minutes before starting their day. The proposal came exactly 2 years after they met, in the same coffee shop where they had their disastrous first encounter. Ryan had secretly arranged with the shop owner to close early one evening, decorating the space with fairy lights and Lisa's favorite white roses. When she walked in, thinking they were just meeting for their regular date night, she found Ryan down on one knee with a stunning diamond ring. The ring was absolutely perfect. A classic solitaire setting with a brilliant cut diamond that caught the light beautifully. Ryan had clearly put a lot of thought into choosing something that matched Lisa's style perfectly. As he asked her to marry him, his voice shaking slightly with nerves, Lisa felt like she was in a dream. Of course she said yes. How could she not? This was the man she had been waiting for her entire life, and he was offering her everything she had ever wanted. As Ryan slipped the ring onto her finger, Lisa felt like the luckiest woman in the world. The engagement period was a whirlwind of excitement and planning. Lisa had always imagined her wedding day, but actually planning it was both thrilling and overwhelming. There were so many decisions to make: the venue, the flowers, the dress, the menu, the guest list. Sometimes Lisa felt like her head was spinning with all the details. Ryan was wonderfully supportive during the planning process, though he admitted that he was happy to let Lisa take the lead on most decisions. He said he trusted her taste completely and just wanted her to have the wedding of her dreams. The only things he insisted on were having an open bar and making sure his college friends were all invited. Lisa threw herself into wedding planning with the same energy and attention to detail she brought to everything in her life. She spent hours browsing wedding websites, visiting venues, and meeting with vendors. She created detailed spreadsheets to keep track of everything and had a color-coded binder that became her constant companion. The venue they chose was absolutely magical, a historic mansion with beautiful gardens and a grand ballroom with crystal chandeliers. Lisa fell in love with it the moment she saw it, imagining herself walking down the aisle in the garden ceremony space, surrounded by blooming roses and fairy lights. Lisa's wedding dress shopping was an experience she would never forget. She went with her mother, her sister, and Rachel, spending an entire Saturday trying on dozens of dresses. When she finally found the one, a flowing gown with delicate lace details and a long train, everyone in the bridal shop started crying. Even the saleswoman got emotional. As the wedding date grew closer, Lisa noticed that Ryan seemed to be working more and more. He was often at the office late into the evening and frequently had to travel for business. When Lisa expressed concern about how stressed he seemed, Ryan assured her that things would calm down after a big project he was working on was finished. Lisa understood that Ryan's job was demanding and that he was working hard to provide for their future together. She actually felt proud of how dedicated and ambitious he was. Still, she sometimes wished he could be more involved in the final wedding preparations. There were so many last-minute details to handle, and it felt like she was managing most of them alone. Despite Ryan's busy schedule, their relationship remained strong. When he was home, he was completely present and attentive. He would ask about her day, help her make decisions about wedding details, and always made time for their important traditions like Sunday morning breakfast in bed. Lisa's friends and family were all excited about the upcoming wedding. The guest list had grown to 150 people: family members, childhood friends, college roommates, work colleagues, and Ryan's extensive network of friends and business contacts. Lisa loved the idea of bringing together all the important people in their lives to celebrate their love. 3 weeks before the wedding, Lisa was feeling a mixture of excitement and nerves. She had tried on her dress for the final fitting and looked absolutely radiant. All the vendors were confirmed, the flowers were ordered, and the menu was finalized. Everything was falling into place perfectly for what she knew would be the most important and beautiful day of her life. 3 days before the wedding, Lisa was sitting in her living room surrounded by seating charts, place cards, and her seemingly endless to-do list. She had been working on the final details for hours, and her eyes were starting to hurt from staring at all the small print. The rehearsal dinner was tomorrow night, and she suddenly realized she had forgotten to confirm the final headcount with the restaurant. She reached for her phone to call Ryan, but then remembered he had mentioned having back-to-back meetings all afternoon. Lisa glanced at the clock. It was almost noon, which meant he would probably be taking a lunch break soon. A smile crossed her face as she got an idea. Why not surprise him with lunch at his office? She could bring him his favorite sandwich from Tony's Deli and give him the final headcount for the rehearsal dinner in person. Lisa grabbed her purse and keys, feeling excited about the spontaneous lunch date. She and Ryan used to do things like this all the time when they first started dating, but with both of their busy schedules lately, they had fallen out of the habit. Maybe after the wedding stress was over, they could get back to those sweet, simple moments together. The drive to Tony's Deli took about 15 minutes. Lisa ordered Ryan's usual, a turkey and Swiss on sourdough with extra mustard, no tomatoes. It was the same sandwich he had ordered on their very first official lunch date, back when they were still getting to know each other's preferences. The elderly man behind the counter, Tony himself, recognized Lisa and asked about the upcoming wedding. She beamed as she told him it was only 3 days away. Ryan's office building was a sleek glass tower downtown, the kind of place that always made Lisa feel a little intimidated. She had only visited a few times before, usually for company holiday parties or when Ryan needed to grab something quickly on weekends. The lobby was all marble and chrome, with security guards and turnstiles that required keycards to access. The elevators. Lisa approached the reception desk, carrying the deli bag and smiling at the young woman behind the counter. She had met Courtney several times before at office events, and the receptionist always remembered her. "Hi, Lisa. Here to see Ryan?" Courtney asked brightly. "He's up on the 15th floor in his usual office. You can go right up. I'll let security know you're coming." Lisa thanked her and made her way to the elevators, feeling that familiar flutter of excitement she always got when surprising Ryan. She loved seeing his face light up when she did unexpected things like this. It reminded her of why she had fallen in love with him in the first place. Those moments when his serious, professional facade melted away and he became just Ryan. Her Ryan. The elevator ride to the 15th floor seemed to take forever. Lisa checked her reflection in the polished steel doors, making sure she looked presentable for Ryan's colleagues. She smoothed down her hair and adjusted her blouse, wanting to look like the kind of woman who belonged with a successful man like Ryan. The 15th floor was bustling with activity. People in business attire hurried past with coffee cups and thick folders, talking on phones and looking importantly busy. Lisa had always admired this world that Ryan was part of, even though it sometimes felt foreign to her. She navigated the maze of cubicles and glass-walled offices, following the path she remembered from her previous visits. Ryan's corner office was at the end of the hallway, with his name printed on a nameplate beside the door. Through the large windows, Lisa could see most of the downtown skyline. She had always been proud of how hard Ryan had worked to earn such an impressive office space. As Lisa approached the office, she could see through the glass walls that Ryan was inside. She was about to knock on the door when something made her stop. Ryan wasn't alone. There was a woman with him, and they weren't sitting across from each other at his desk having a business meeting. They were standing close together. Very close. Too close. Lisa's heart started pounding as she watched the scene unfolding in front of her. The woman had long blonde hair and was wearing a fitted black dress that Lisa recognized from previous office parties. It was Jessica, Ryan's assistant. The same Jessica who had always been friendly to Lisa at company events, who had helped coordinate some of Ryan's business trips, who had even asked Lisa for wedding planning advice a few months ago. But this wasn't a professional conversation between a boss and his assistant. Jessica had her arms around Ryan's neck and his hands were on her waist. They were kissing. Not a quick friendly peck on the cheek, but a long, passionate kiss that made Lisa's stomach drop to the floor. Lisa stood frozen in the hallway, the deli bag still clutched in her hands. Her mind couldn't process what she was seeing. This had to be some kind of mistake, some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe Jessica was just thanking Ryan for something. Maybe it was just a friendly hug that looked wrong from this angle, but then they broke apart, and Lisa could see their faces clearly. Ryan was smiling at Jessica in a way that was achingly familiar. It was the same smile he had given Lisa on their first date, the same look of adoration and desire that she thought belonged only to her. Jessica was laughing softly, running her fingers through Ryan's hair in a gesture that was intimate and comfortable, like something she had done many times before. Lisa pressed herself against the wall, hoping they wouldn't see her. Her hands were shaking and she felt like she might throw up. This couldn't be happening. Not now, not 3 days before their wedding. Not with Jessica, who had seemed so supportive and friendly. She strained to hear what they were saying, and the fragments of conversation that drifted through the office door made everything so much worse. I can't wait for this whole wedding thing to be over, Ryan was saying, his voice casual and relaxed. 3 more days and then we can stop sneaking? Around, Jessica laughed, a sound that sent chills down Lisa's spine. I still can't believe she has no idea. She was literally asking me for advice about wedding favors last week. It's almost too easy. She's been so busy with all the planning she doesn't notice anything else, Ryan replied. Which works out perfectly for us. After the honeymoon, I'll figure out how to handle things. Maybe I'll just tell her I want some space. That marriage feels different than I expected. Lisa felt like the floor was falling out from under her. They were talking about her like she was some kind of obstacle to work around, some problem to be solved. The honeymoon, their romantic trip to Italy that she had been looking forward to for months, was just something Ryan wanted to get through, so he could be with Jessica. You're terrible, Jessica said, but she was still smiling. Poor Lisa, she seemed so sweet and naive. She really thinks she's marrying the love of her life. What she doesn't know won't hurt her, Ryan said with a shrug. At least not yet. Besides, you know you're the one I really want to be with. This whole engagement thing just got out of hand before I could figure out how to end it. Lisa backed away from the office door, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst. She needed to get out of there before they saw her. She needed to think, to process what she had just witnessed. She managed to make it to the elevator without being seen, though she honestly couldn't remember walking down the hallway. The elevator ride down seemed to take hours. Lisa stared at her reflection in the steel doors, hardly recognizing the pale, shocked face looking back at her. The woman in the reflection was supposed to be getting married in 3 days. She was supposed to be the happiest woman in the world. Right now. Instead, she looked like someone who had just watched her entire life crumble into pieces. When Lisa reached the lobby, she walked past Courtney without stopping, ignoring the receptionist's cheerful goodbye. She made it to her car before the tears started, sitting in the parking garage and sobbing until she couldn't breathe properly. The sandwich from Tony's deli sat forgotten on the passenger seat, a cruel reminder of how normal and happy she had felt just an hour ago. How had she been so blind? How long had this been going on? How many of those late nights and business trips had actually been time spent with Jessica? Lisa thought about all the times Jessica had been around during their relationship. Office parties where Jessica had complimented Lisa's dress and asked about wedding details. Company picnics where Jessica had seemed so supportive and friendly. That time, Jessica had even helped Lisa pick out a birthday gift for Ryan, offering suggestions about what he might like. It had all been an act. Jessica had been playing a role, pretending to be the helpful assistant while secretly having an affair with Lisa's fiancé. And Ryan, the man she thought she knew better than anyone, had been living a complete double life. As Lisa sat in her car, trying to figure out what to do next, one thing became crystal clear. She wasn't going to let them get away with this. She wasn't going to quietly disappear and let Ryan spin some story about how they grew apart. She wasn't going to let Jessica continue playing the innocent assistant. They thought she was naive and sweet, that she would never suspect anything. They thought they could use her and discard her without consequences. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Lisa sat in her car for what felt like hours, though it was probably only 20 minutes. Her phone kept buzzing with text messages, but she couldn't bring herself to look at them. She knew at least some of them were probably from Ryan, wondering where she was or asking about dinner plans. The thought of this fake concern and pretend affection made her feel sick all over again. Finally, she started the car and drove home in a daze. Everything looked different now. The familiar streets, the coffee shop where they had met, even their apartment building. It was like someone had put a dark filter over her entire world, making everything seem gray and wrong. When Lisa walked into their apartment, she was hit by reminders of Ryan everywhere. His coffee mug in the sink from that morning, his jacket thrown over the back of the couch, wedding planning materials scattered across the dining room table, seating charts with his friends' names, vendor contracts with both their signatures, a folder full of honeymoon brochures for the trip they were supposed to take together. She stood in the middle of their living room, looking around at the life they had built together, and felt a strange sense of detachment. None of it was real. Their relationship, their engagement, their plans for the future, it was all built on lies and betrayal. Lisa's phone rang, startling her out of her thoughts. Ryan's name appeared on the screen, along with a photo of him laughing that she had taken during a weekend trip to the beach. She stared at the phone until it stopped ringing, then immediately started ringing again. On the third call, she finally answered, trying to keep her voice normal. "Hey, where are you?" Ryan asked, sounding slightly concerned but mostly just curious. "I thought you might swing by the office for lunch today." The casual way he said it, like he hadn't just been making out with his assistant an hour ago, made Lisa's blood boil. But she forced herself to stay calm. "Oh, I got busy with wedding stuff," she said, proud of how steady her voice sounded. "You know how it is, so many last-minute details." "Right, of course," Ryan replied. "Well, I'll be home around 7. Want me to pick up dinner on the way?" "Sure," Lisa said. "That sounds great." After she hung up, Lisa realized she had just successfully lied to the man who had been lying to her for who knows how long. The thought should have made her feel guilty, but instead it made her feel powerful. If Ryan could pretend everything was fine, so could she, but Lisa wasn't planning to pretend forever. As she sat on their couch, staring at the wedding planning materials, an idea began to form in her mind. A plan that would expose Ryan's betrayal in the most public and humiliating way possible. She wasn't going to cancel the wedding and let Ryan off easy. She wasn't going to quietly break up with him and let him spin some story about how they grew apart. She was going to use their wedding day, the day that was supposed to be the happiest of her life, to show everyone exactly who Ryan really was. Lisa spent the next few hours researching on her laptop. She looked up private investigators, divorce lawyers, and photographers who specialized in catching cheating spouses. She read articles about people who had discovered affairs and how they had handled the situation. Some had confronted their partners immediately, others had quietly gathered evidence first. Lisa decided she needed proof. Real, undeniable evidence that would make it impossible for Ryan to deny what he had done or try to make her look like the crazy, jealous FIANCE acute E. She called a private investigation company she found online, explaining her situation to a woman named Detective Rodriguez. The detective was professional and sympathetic, assuring Lisa that this kind of case was more common than she might think. The good news is that if they're being this careless, it shouldn't be hard to document their relationship, Detective Rodriguez explained. The bad news is that what you saw today probably isn't the first time. This has likely been going on for a while. Lisa hired the detective on the spot, agreeing to pay extra for rush service since the wedding was only 3 days away. Detective Rodriguez promised to have photographic evidence within 24 hours. Next, Lisa called her best friend Rachel, asking her to come over immediately. When Rachel arrived an hour later with a bottle of wine and Lisa's favorite ice cream, she took one look at Lisa's face and knew something was seriously wrong. "What happened?" Rachel asked, setting down the wine and pulling Lisa into a hug. "You look like you've seen a ghost?" Lisa told Rachel everything, finding Ryan and Jessica together, overhearing their conversation, the way they had talked about her like she was some kind of joke. Rachel's face went through a series of emotions: shock, anger, disgust, and finally, determination. "That lying, cheating piece of garbage?" Rachel said, pacing around the living room. "And Jessica, I never liked her. There was always something fake about the way she acted around you." "I want to expose them," Lisa said, "but not privately. I want everyone to know what kind of person Ryan really is." Rachel stopped pacing and looked at Lisa with a mixture of admiration and concern. "What are you thinking?" Lisa explained her plan to use the wedding as the venue for her revenge. Rachel's eyes grew wider as Lisa described how she wanted to gather evidence and then reveal Ryan's affair in front of all their friends and family. "Lisa, are you sure about this?" Rachel asked. "I mean, I'm totally on board if this is what you want to do, but once you go down this road, there's no taking it back." "I'm sure," Lisa said, feeling more certain than she had about anything in a long time. "He thinks I'm naive and stupid." He thinks he can use me and throw me away when it's convenient. I'm going to show him exactly how wrong he is." Rachel grinned. "Okay, then, what do you need me to do?" They spent the rest of the afternoon planning. Rachel would help Lisa move her most important belongings out of the apartment over the next 2 days, storing them at Rachel's place. They would also change the passwords on Lisa's personal accounts and make sure Ryan couldn't access her money or private information. Lisa also called her sister Amy, swearing her to secrecy before explaining the situation. Amy was furious on Lisa's behalf and immediately offered to help with whatever Lisa needed. Amy worked in marketing and had connections with photographers and videographers who could help document everything. "We're going to make sure everyone knows the truth," Amy promised. "Ryan won't be able to show his face anywhere after this." When Ryan came home that evening with Chinese takeout, Lisa was amazed by how normal she was able to act. She asked about his day, discussed last-minute wedding details, and even let him put his arms around her while they watched TV. The whole time, she was thinking about Detective Rodriguez following him and Jessica, taking pictures that would prove their affair. "You seem a little quiet tonight," Ryan observed as they were getting ready for bed. "Everything okay?" "Just wedding nerves," Lisa said with a smile. "You know how it is, big day coming up." Ryan kissed her forehead. "It's going to be perfect. I can't wait to marry you." The lie came so easily to him, Lisa realized. He could look her in the eye and tell her he loved her, knowing that he was planning to be with Jessica after their honeymoon. He could pretend to care about their wedding while secretly wishing it was over. As Lisa lay in bed next to Ryan that night, listening to him sleep peacefully while she stared at the ceiling, she felt a cold sense of satisfaction. Ryan had no idea what was coming. He thought he was so clever, managing 2 relationships without getting caught. He thought Lisa was too trusting and naive to ever suspect anything. The next morning, Detective Rodriguez called with an update. She had already gotten several photos of Ryan and Jessica together, including some very intimate moments in Jessica's apartment the night before. Apparently, Ryan's late meeting had been spent with his assistant. "I have to ask, Detective," Rodriguez said. "Are you absolutely sure you want to go through with exposing this at your wedding?" "It's going to be very public and very dramatic." "I'm sure," Lisa said without hesitation. "They humiliated me. Now it's their turn." Lisa spent the day before the wedding making final preparations for her plan. She picked up the printed photos from Detective Rodriguez, her hands shaking slightly as she looked at the clear evidence of Ryan's betrayal. She also gathered copies of credit card statements showing charges for romantic dinners and hotel rooms that Ryan had hidden from her. That evening was the rehearsal dinner. Lisa sat at the head table next to Ryan, smiling and accepting congratulations from their guests. Jessica was there too, sitting with Ryan's work colleagues. Playing the part of the supportive assistant who was so happy for her boss, Lisa watched Jessica throughout the dinner, noticing things she had missed before. The way Jessica's eyes followed Ryan around the room. How she laughed a little too loudly at his jokes. The knowing looks they exchanged when they thought no one was watching. During the toasts, Ryan's best friend Jake stood up and talked about how lucky Ryan was to have found someone like Lisa. Ryan's father spoke about how proud he was of his son for choosing such a wonderful woman. Lisa's own father welcomed Ryan into their family with genuine warmth and affection. All the while, Ryan sat next to Lisa with his arm around her, accepting praise for being such a good man and devoted fiancé. He even gave a short speech thanking everyone for their support and talking about how excited he was to start this new chapter of his life with Lisa. Lisa woke up on her wedding day feeling strangely calm. She had barely slept, but instead of feeling tired, she felt alert and focused. Today was the day she had been planning for her entire adult life, just not in the way she had originally. Imagine. Rachel arrived at 7 in the morning with coffee, bagels, and a makeup artist she had secretly hired to make sure Lisa looked absolutely stunning for what was about to happen. Lisa's sister Amy showed up shortly after with the photographer. They had arranged to document everything. "How are you feeling?" Rachel asked, studying Lisa's face carefully. "Any second thoughts?" "None," Lisa said firmly. He made his choice when he decided to cheat on me. Now he gets to live with the consequences. The morning proceeded exactly as planned. Lisa's bridesmaids arrived at 9, chattering excitedly about the beautiful day and how perfect everything was going to be. None of them knew what Lisa had discovered or what she was planning to do. She had decided to keep the circle of people who knew the truth as small as possible. Lisa's mother bustled around the bridal suite, making sure everyone had everything they needed. She kept commenting on how radiant Lisa looked, how this was obviously meant to be, how proud she was of the woman Lisa had become. Every compliment felt like a knife in Lisa's heart, but she smiled and thanked her mother just like she was supposed to. The hair and makeup took 3 hours. Lisa sat in the chair, letting the professionals work their magic while her bridesmaids chatted around her. They talked about their own relationships, about how lucky Lisa was to have found Ryan, about how they couldn't wait to see her walk down the aisle, Lisa's maid of honor. Her cousin Kelly kept asking if she was nervous. "You seem so calm," Kelly observed. "I would be a complete wreck right now." "I'm ready," Lisa said simply. "I've been ready for this day for a long time." When it was time to put on her wedding dress, Lisa's mother and sister helped her step into the flowing white gown. As they fastened the dozens of tiny buttons up the back, Lisa looked at herself in the full-length mirror. She looked beautiful, like a real bride who was about to marry the love of her life. For just a moment, Lisa felt a pang of sadness for the woman she had been just 3 days ago. That woman had been so happy, so excited about this day. She had truly believed she was marrying her soulmate and starting the most wonderful chapter of her life. But that woman had been living in a fantasy. The woman looking back at her from the mirror now knew the truth, and she was about to make sure everyone else knew it too. Lisa's phone buzzed with a text from Detective Rodriguez. "Package is ready and waiting in the bridal suite closet as requested. Good luck today." The package was a large, elegantly wrapped gift box containing all the evidence Lisa had gathered over the past 2 days. Photos of Ryan and Jessica together, credit card statements showing their secret dates, even a written timeline of their affair that the detective had helped Lisa piece together. At noon, Lisa's father arrived to escort her to the ceremony. He looked handsome in his dark suit, and his eyes filled with tears when he saw her in her wedding dress. "You look absolutely beautiful, sweetheart," he said, offering her his arm. "Ryan is the luckiest man in the world." Lisa squeezed her father's arm, feeling guilty that he was about to witness what she was planning to do. But Ryan had forced her hand when he decided to humiliate her with his affair. If her father was disappointed in her for what was about to happen, at least he would understand why she felt she had no choice. The ceremony was being held in the mansion's beautiful garden, with white chairs arranged in neat rows and an archway covered in white roses where Lisa and Ryan would exchange vows. As Lisa waited in the mansion's foyer with her father, she could hear the string quartet playing and the murmur of their 150 guests taking their seats. Through the window, Lisa could see Ryan standing at the altar with his groomsmen. He looked incredibly handsome in his black tuxedo, and he kept checking his watch and smoothing his hair nervously. Next to him, his best friend Jake was making jokes, probably trying to calm Ryan's pre-wedding jitters. Lisa scanned the seated guests until she spotted Jessica in the 5th row, wearing a navy blue dress and a fake smile. She was sitting with Ryan's other work colleagues, playing the part of the supportive assistant, who was so happy to be invited to her boss's special day. The irony wasn't lost on Lisa that Jessica was there to watch Ryan marry another woman, knowing that she was secretly having an affair with him. Did Jessica feel guilty at all? Or was she just counting down the minutes until Ryan would be hers? The wedding coordinator appeared at Lisa's side, clipboard in hand and headset around her neck. "It's time," she announced with a bright smile. "You ready to become Mrs. Ryan Matthews?" "I've never been more ready for anything in my life," Lisa replied, and she meant every word. The music changed to the processional, and Lisa's bridesmaids began their walk down the aisle. Rachel went last as maid of honor, giving Lisa an encouraging nod before heading outside. Lisa had told Rachel to signal the photographer they had hired once Lisa made her announcement. So everything would be properly documented. Then it was Lisa's turn. The coordinator opened the doors and Lisa stepped out into the garden on her father's arm. The guests all stood and turned to look at her, smiling and murmuring appreciatively. She looked absolutely radiant walking down the rose-petal-covered aisle, her long train flowing behind her. Ryan's face lit up when he saw her. He was grinning widely, and Lisa could see him mouth the words "so beautiful" to his best man. For a split second, Lisa almost believed his expression was genuine. Then she remembered what she had witnessed in his office just 2 days ago. The walk down the aisle felt both endless and too short. Lisa smiled at the guests as she passed, nodding at family members and friends who had traveled from far away to be there. Her grandmother was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Ryan's parents looked proud and happy in the front row. When Lisa reached the altar, her father lifted her veil and kissed her cheek. "I love you, sweetheart," he whispered. "Be happy." Then he placed Lisa's hand in Ryan's and took his seat. Ryan squeezed her hand and leaned close to her ear. "You look incredible," he whispered. "I'm so lucky." Lisa smiled back at him, wondering if he had any idea what was coming. Did he feel even slightly guilty standing there in front of all their friends and family, about to promise to love and honor her while secretly planning to continue his affair with Jessica? The officiant, a family friend who had known Lisa since she was a child, began the ceremony with a speech about love, commitment, and the sacred bond of marriage. He talked about how Lisa and Ryan had found something special in each other, something that would last a lifetime. As the ceremony continued, Lisa went through all the motions she had rehearsed. She repeated her vows, her voice clear and strong. She accepted Ryan's ring and slipped one onto his finger. She smiled at all the right moments and even teared up a little when the officiant talked about the journey they were beginning together. Through it all, Lisa was acutely aware of Jessica sitting in the audience, watching the man she was secretly involved with marry another woman. Lisa wondered what was going through Jessica's mind. Was she jealous, impatient, or just confident that this was all temporary? Finally, the officiant reached the part of the ceremony Lisa had been waiting for. "The bride has prepared a special message for her new husband," he announced, gesturing for Lisa to step forward. This was it. This was the moment Lisa had been planning for the past 2 days. She looked out at the audience, taking in all the expectant faces of their friends and family. Everyone was smiling, thinking they were about to hear a sweet speech about love and commitment. Ryan was beaming at her, probably expecting her to gush about how much she loved him and how excited she was to be his wife. Behind him, his groomsmen were grinning, and Jake even gave her an encouraging thumbs up. Lisa's eyes found Jessica in the crowd. The other woman was watching intently, that same fake smile plastered on her face. Jessica had no idea that her secret was about to be exposed to everyone who mattered in Ryan's life. Rachel appeared at Lisa's side, carrying the large gift box they had prepared. She set it down on a small table next to the altar and gave Lisa a subtle nod. In the audience, their hired photographer began discreetly positioning himself to capture everything that was about to happen. Lisa took the microphone from the officiant, her hand steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to do. The garden fell completely silent except for the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. "Thank you all for being here today," Lisa began, her voice carrying clearly across the garden. "This is definitely a day I'll never forget, and I'm sure it will be the same for all of you." She paused, looking directly at Ryan, who was still smiling expectantly. Then she turned her gaze to Jessica, watching as the other woman's expression began to change from fake joy to growing concern. "I wanted to share something special with my new husband," Lisa continued, reaching for the gift box. "Something that shows everyone exactly who he really is." Ryan's smile faltered slightly, confusion beginning to creep across his face. In the audience, Lisa could see Jessica starting to look genuinely panicked. Lisa opened the gift box and pulled out the first photograph. Lisa held up the first photograph, making sure everyone in the garden could see it clearly. It showed Ryan and Jessica kissing passionately outside a restaurant. their bodies pressed close together in an unmistakably romantic embrace. The date stamp in the corner showed it was taken just 1 week ago. A collective gasp went through the crowd. Ryan's face went completely white and his mouth fell open in shock. Jessica, sitting in the 5th row, looked like she wanted to disappear into the ground. "This is my wedding gift to you, Ryan," Lisa said, her voice steady and clear. "The truth." She pulled out another photo, this one showing Ryan and Jessica entering a hotel together, his hand on the small of her back in an intimate gesture. Then another of them having dinner at an expensive restaurant, leaning across the table toward each other like lovers. "For those of you who don't know," Lisa announced to the stunned audience, "this is Jessica, Ryan's assistant. Apparently they've been working very closely together for the past several months." Ryan finally found his voice. "Lisa, wait, I can explain." "Oh, there's more," Lisa interrupted, reaching into the box again. This time she pulled out printed copies of credit card statements. "These are charges from our joint account that Ryan used to pay for his dates with Jessica. Romantic dinners, hotel rooms, expensive gifts. All while he was planning our wedding. With me, the silence in the garden was deafening. 150 people sat frozen in their chairs, unable to process what they were witnessing. Some guests had their phones out, recording everything. Others looked like they were in shock. Lisa's father started to stand up from his seat in the front row, but Lisa's mother put a hand on his arm to stop him. Lisa could see the confusion and anger on her father's face as he realized what was happening. Ryan's parents looked absolutely mortified. His mother was shaking her head in disbelief, while his father's face was red with embarrassment and fury. "Lisa, please," Ryan said, reaching toward her, "not like this. Let's talk privately, like you talked privately with Jessica?" Lisa asked, stepping away from him. "Like when you told her you couldn't wait for our wedding to be over so you could stop sneaking around?" More gasps from the audience. Jessica had gone completely pale and was starting to stand up from her seat, probably hoping to escape before things got worse. "Don't even think about leaving, Jessica," Lisa called out, making everyone turn to look at the other woman. "You're part of this story too." Jessica froze halfway out of her chair, looking absolutely terrified. Several of Ryan's work colleagues sitting near her were staring at her with disgust and disbelief. Lisa pulled out more evidence from the box. "I also have text messages between Ryan and Jessica, planning their secret meetings and laughing about how naive I was. Would you like me to read some of those out loud?" "Stop," Ryan said desperately. "Please, just stop." "I'll do whatever you want, but please don't do this here." "Why not here?" Lisa asked. "This seemed like the perfect place, since you were so excited to stand up in front of all our friends and family and promise to love and honor me. Were you planning to honor me when you continued sleeping with Jessica after our honeymoon?" The crowd was completely silent except for a few people whispering to each other in shock. Lisa could see some guests shaking their heads in disgust, while others looked like they felt sorry for her. Ryan's best man, Jake, looked absolutely stunned. He kept looking back and forth between Ryan and Lisa like he couldn't believe what was happening. The other groomsmen seemed equally shocked and uncomfortable. Ryan told Jessica that he would figure out how to handle our marriage after the honeymoon. Lisa continued, addressing the crowd now instead of Ryan directly. "Apparently the plan was to tell me he needed space, that marriage felt different than he expected. Then he could be with Jessica without having to deal with the mess of calling off a wedding." Ryan's mother let out a small sob from the front row. His father was glaring at his son with a look of pure disappointment and anger that Lisa had never seen before. "Lisa, I'm sorry," Ryan said, his voice breaking. "I made a terrible mistake. I love you. We can work through this." Lisa laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You love me? You have a funny way of showing it. Tell me, Ryan, when exactly did you fall out of love with me? Was it before or after you started your affair with Jessica?" Ryan looked around desperately at the crowd, as if hoping someone would help him or tell him what to say, but everyone was staring at him with a mixture of shock, disgust, and disappointment. Jessica finally managed to speak, her voice shaky and barely audible. "Lisa, I'm sorry. It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "Oh, you're sorry?" Lisa turned her attention to Jessica. You're sorry that you got caught, not sorry that you did it. You sat at our rehearsal dinner last night, smiling and pretending to be happy for us. You helped me plan parts of this wedding. You asked me for advice about wedding favors while you were sleeping with my fiancé. Jessica started crying, which only made the crowd more uncomfortable. Some people were looking at her with pity, but most seemed disgusted by her betrayal of Lisa's trust, Lisa's sister. Amy stood up from her seat and started walking toward the altar. I think we've heard enough, she said firmly. Lisa, let's go. But Lisa wasn't finished yet. She had one more thing to say. I want everyone here to know that I'm not the naive, trusting woman that Ryan and Jessica thought I was, she announced. I found out about their affair 3 days ago, and I could have called off this wedding quietly. I could have broken up with Ryan privately and let him tell whatever story he wanted about why we didn't work out. She looked directly at Ryan, who was now visibly shaking. But you two made the choice to humiliate me behind my back, to laugh about how stupid and blind I was. You made the choice to use me and betray me. So I made the choice to let everyone know exactly who you really are. Lisa pulled off her engagement ring and wedding band, holding them out toward Ryan. Consider this my wedding gift to you. The truth, served publicly, just like you deserve. Ryan didn't take the rings, so Lisa dropped them at his feet. They hit the ground with a small clinking sound that seemed incredibly loud in the silent. Garden and Jessica, Lisa called out, I hope it was worth it. I hope he was worth destroying your reputation and losing the respect of everyone who knows you. With that, Lisa turned and walked back down the aisle, her head held high in her wedding dress trailing behind her. The crowd parted to let her through, some people reaching out to touch her arm in support as she passed. Rachel quickly gathered up the evidence from the gift box and hurried after Lisa, along with Amy and several of Lisa's other close friends and family members. Behind them, the garden erupted into chaos. Guests were talking loudly, some taking pictures, others getting up to leave. Ryan was still standing at the altar looking lost and devastated. While Jessica was pushing through the crowd trying to escape, Lisa could hear Ryan calling her name, begging her to come back so they could talk. But she didn't turn around. She had said everything she needed to say. 6 months later, Lisa was living in a new apartment across town, completely rebuilt and stronger than she had ever been. The video of her wedding day revelation had gone viral on social media, with millions of people praising her courage and strength. She had started a blog about overcoming betrayal and rebuilding after heartbreak, which had gained thousands of followers who found inspiration in her story. She had also begun dating again, but this time with better boundaries and a clearer understanding of her own worth. Ryan had tried to contact her numerous times in the weeks after the wedding, sending flowers, letters, and messages through mutual friends. But Lisa had blocked him on everything and moved on completely. She heard through friends that he had lost several clients at work when the story of his affair became public knowledge. Jessica had been fired from her job and had to move to another city to escape the scrutiny and judgment. Their relationship had ended within a month. Apparently unable to survive the public humiliation and shame, Lisa's wedding day hadn't turned out the way she had dreamed. But in many ways, it had been exactly what she needed. It was the day she stopped being a victim and started being a survivor. It was the day she chose her own dignity over protecting someone else's reputation. And while it wasn't the fairy tale ending she had once wanted, it was something even better. It was the beginning of a new chapter where Lisa was the author of her own story, and no one would ever be able to betray or deceive her like that again.